Oh, hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Let me just pull up the presentation. Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, we're excited to have you. Sorry, let me just make this into PowerPoint. Um, Daniel, well, first of all, thank you for joining. We've been
Of
working
course.
together forever. We love working with you in Likelihood, and really honored that you can help join us today because I think we've had a really cool journey over the past, at this point, maybe a little bit over 2 years or 2 years on, preventing bots, building authentic customer relationships, and just wanted to kind of get your story of like, how have you really helped build Likelihood into the brand that it is today? And how have you been able to help grow the business really? And where do you view it going? Right. So if you don't mind, do you mind giving a little bit of background of yourself and Likelihood?
Sure. I'm Dan Carlson. I'm one of the owners of Likelihood. Likelihood has been open now over 9.5 years. As you said, we've been working with Yofi for about 2 years. On the outside, Likelihood is a top tier sneaker and fashion boutique. We carry a lot of the highly desirable, hard to get launches from Nike, Adidas, New Balance. And then also we have a roster of apparel brands. We seek new brands, brands that we think are the future, as well as accessories. That's the outside. On the inside, Likelihood was started really as a platform for community. We knew from the very beginning that we needed to build relationships with locals and with customers and bring community into the store. And so from the very beginning, when we had our first hype sneaker drop, we brought in community. So the way that looked at that time was we harnessed the energy and excitement of sneaker drops to collect donations for facing homelessness, socks and backpacks. And we've done all sorts of events. We've brought in kids to do art shows. We've done art exhibits ourselves. We really view relationships and with our customers and with the community as central to who we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Daniel, like, talk a little bit about like just kind of the growth of Likelihood, right? Like, I know you guys just opened your second store, around a year ago at this time, right? You guys hosted some big stuff for like the MLB All-Star game, but you guys have really become like the premier boutique in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. What's that journey been like?
It's been amazing. It's been highs and lows, but a lot of fun. And at each level, we were challenged. You're always challenged to push to the next level. It's always a little scary, but it's that fine line between scared and scary exciting. One thing I will say about our trajectory is, speaking of community, we always viewed ourselves as, at the very beginning, as part of an ecosystem, a larger ecosystem. And when we were new, we were always the new thing in that ecosystem, kind of like a new kidney. And we always felt like we needed to be accepted and embraced by that ecosystem. And so bringing community in was central to our growth. And we grew by doing scavenger hunts for launches, for community events, for, like I said, the homelessness, YWCA, all sorts of organizations, to harness the energy around sneakers and fashion, and to help the community. And it's just, Seattle has just embraced us and has grown with us. And through that process of bringing a community and showing that we can do events, we can capture the attention and excitement of folks here in Seattle, we were able to do some really exciting marketing initiatives for Nike. And one you just mentioned was the MLB All-Star Weekend, which was here in Seattle last year. We put together with Nike, in collaboration, the Downtown Diamond. Our new store opened November 28th, 2023. And so All-Star Weekend, so it was about 6 months before All-Star Weekend. And We did a diamond. Home base was Likelihood downtown. First base was a wiffle ball home run derby right by the Spheres, which Amazon had never done before. Then we had a customization station with second base, and then an art exhibit with Ken Griffey Jr. was third base. And so folks could come and just experience a downtown diamond as part of their MLB All-Star experience that weekend.
No,
so that's an example. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the photos. It looks so sick, and also just being able to hang out with Ken Griffey Jr. is just super cool too.
Yeah.
And then, so Daniel, let's kind of go through a little bit of like, just talk through a little bit of like, what's the roller coaster been, right? Like, I think when we first started talking, this was probably like in the middle of the pandemic, right? Every sneaker was selling out instantaneously, and then now, the resale price of sneakers have kind of cooled. So, just curious, how did you kind of navigate or think about these different waves of the business, right? And tying it all back to community, right? That's always what you and the Likelihood team have always cared about.
Yeah, it's been a learning experience for us because my background is not retail. I'm come from a marketing background. I worked in advertising agencies. I have a strategy background. Aaron worked at Nike for 10 years and then at Nordstrom for 2 years. And so it's a great question, and it's a timely question to understand talk about the roller coaster, because this is something that we've been digging into for at least the last 2 years to better understand what's happening. And really the headline for that is to follow the customer and to listen closely to what you're seeing in terms of their purchasing and what you're hearing in the stores and from your team. And when we first opened in 2015, we grew 30% every year, and the growth was, like you said, we felt unstoppable, and I believe the category felt unstoppable until about I was looking at the numbers mid 2022 is when things started to fall off, and by October it was a cliff. It was just down. And so really the strategy with that is to adapt to your customer. And there are really only 7 levers that we have that we can pull to create cash or drive demand within the business. And I keep telling people, we can't force people to buy. We can't make people come to the store or come to the website or love what we bring in. And so we've just adapted within those 6 or 7 levers to keep the business going, keep our connection to our customers, and provide them value as they change their own behavior and they adapt to a changing economy, that kind of thing. And to give you an example, the customer since mid 2022 has become very price sensitive. They aren't buying anything that Nike puts out anymore. They aren't even buying things like Air Force Ones that they used to buy now it's a higher price. So they're not buying them. And so we had to adapt and start really focusing on sales, markdowns. And that's where Yofi has been a huge help for us, because instead of doing, big broad sales so everyone takes advantage, we can use targeting through Yofi to really be precise about those sales. And it makes them more efficient, more effective. And then it's also better for the business in that way on the margin side.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think that's something you've always cared about, right? Is like essentially these authentic customer relationships or precision marketing. And I think before we kind of get into some of your strategies and like responses, I just like, from your perspective, what was like this peak bot heyday like? Just like walk us through of like, what's it like as a store operator? Because I think a lot of us love sneakers, we love, concert tickets, we love exclusive products, but like, I think it puts these brands in kind of a lose-lose situation, because you guys actually put a lot of time and effort and money for very little sales, right? To make sure that these releases went well. So if you don't mind, just what was dealing with bots on a daily basis like for y'all?
Yeah, it was like playing. I don't know what I think of like hide and seek or like playing whammy with bots.
Guess who? Yeah.
Yeah, because um, our goal with release product is hype release product is to always use it as a beginning point or a reinforcement point to build new relationships or strengthen existing relationships. Here we have this precious relationship, sacred relationship with customers, and we have this product that a lot of people want that we just don't have a ton of pairs. Sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. And we always saw launch product as a way to connect with a new customer or reinforce, strengthen the relationship with an existing customer. And so bots became something that got in the way of that. You know, a bot might come in and try to buy up all our pairs of a Jordan 1 or a Travis Scott, and we lose out on those 100 relationships or 50 relationships. And they don't necessarily care about relationships. They're mostly transactional. And so it was about not being whammied, to be honest. And so at the beginning, we weren't very good at it. You know, Shopify didn't have a great bot tool. We would have to do hand-drawn names where we would look at an Excel spreadsheet and say, okay, this looks legit. It's a legit email. It would just be the eye test, and then we would have to send invoices individually, and it was all manual, all labor. And then we moved to a point where we were like, okay, let's let our store team use this product to give us like a list of customers that they know of or build relationships. So a certain percent would go just to make sure that we were able to, because bots were at the beginning outsmarting us. We were getting whammied. And so when we met you guys and you showed us the precision marketing tool and that your tool would help us weed out bad actors as we define them, it just made a world of difference, because this product, you know, helped us build longer relationships with customers, improve our email database. And then the most important thing is that when we were losing to bots, we were losing credibility with our customers. And we would see posts on Instagram about no bot protection, and that was the worst. And you guys helped us reinstill trust and faith from our customers, which makes a huge difference. Every little bit counts.
Yeah. And I remember some of those early releases, because like I remember like going through some of those spreadsheets for those raffles and like, you know, weeding out like essentially the bad actors or even some of the releases, right? Like I remember, I think you guys would get like, it sounds crazy, but like close to 100,000, you know, attempted raffles, right? Like raffle entries for 100 pairs of shoes, or even when you would like put on Sambas or Dunks, they would sell out instantaneously, right? Like it was kind of insane, right? Just how quickly it was happening and how serial it was. Where I think the really frustrating thing is, I think this is like echoed, I think the way that you would echo it is like, you guys really do care about your customers, right? And the amount of time and effort you put into these, like, I like the way that you put it, like each pair is not a sale, each pair is a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So each pair that's coming out is cultivating a stronger relationship. And you put so much time and effort in it, but the bots were just so overwhelming, so strong that it unfortunately became a lose-lose situation where I would either have to spend so much manual time and do my best, or I would just have to struggle with just, you know, randomly choosing out of a hat, which, you know, bots were impacting, right? And that went completely downstream and impacted a ton from a business perspective.
100%. And the easy thing for us to do would have been to just let them eat, you know, just it save us the time and energy and manpower and, you know, hourly wages to just let them eat.
Yeah.
But that's not who we are. And that to me isn't good business, because we are in the relationship business. You know, it's so critical to hold sacred those relationships with your customers and future customers, and to build trust. Because we talk about it here, you know, there are 20,000 or so retail stores in Washington, and you know, maybe 10,000 of those are in Seattle. And on any given day, our customers are coming in they choose likelihood. And we need to value that, value their time, value their attention. And that we would always repeat as we were going through this. Can you hold for just 1 second, please?
Yeah, of course. And I think one of the cool things that we ended up seeing just kind of across the board is that, like, you know, with these bots, they weren't just impacting these releases, right? They were impacting inline, but they also started skewing a lot of the customer metrics downstream, right? So, like, I think that was one of our favorite things that we did is, like, we went into Klaviyo and we basically said, well, how many of these accounts are fake and duplicate accounts, right? Because what bots were doing is they were trying to cultivate and have kind of these aged profiles. And these age profiles would actually just negatively impact all these marketing metrics.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I think you as a marketing guy that hit like right home, like deep in the heart.
Oh yeah, big time. Well, one, it just ran up our Klaviyo bill. But secondly, I'm a huge believer in email. I think it's the unsung hero of the marketing playbook. And it is extremely powerful. I worked at a CRM agency in New York, and some of the smartest, most strategic people I've ever worked with, and they sold me on email. It sounds boring, but it is extremely effective. And when you have garbage in there like that, it's gonna gunk up your system, a system that's designed to be about precision marketing and respecting people's time and attention. And because we now do email in a way more effective way, where we're sending people through you guys, Yofi, you know, what they've shown they like to see at the time that they like to see it, and it's extremely effective. But yes, bots were really messing it up.
Yeah. And then Daniel, kind of like, where do you also view kind of like, where do you view the world kind of going, right? Like CACs are getting more expensive from an advertising perspective, right? Consumer spending is, I would say it's decreasing, right? You know, it's hard to really tell how the economy is actually doing, but kind of where do you see the world going in retail, right? You think about like Nike and other partners using these neighborhood relationships a lot more than they were a couple of years ago. Just kind of curious, where do you see the world of retail going for you guys, but also just generally?
Great question. We've been exploring where retail is going, you know, a lot in the past year. And my take is it's going to change. In my opinion, it's going to change in two important ways. And I'm not going to say AI because I haven't explored fully the impact AI will have on retail. Retail, I think it's going to get way more personal. We're investing more in things like precision marketing, email, than we are broad reach, because we're building an engine, a back-end engine that is about stronger connections to customers through the channels that they like to receive messages, whether that's SMS, through the app, email, Instagram, DM, that kind of thing. I think it's going to get more personal. I think retailers are going to have to increase the value in the value exchange. It's no longer just about brands, but it's about what services you can offer customers on top of the brands, on top of the beautiful stores, on top of the smiles when you walk in the door. And we're definitely starting to develop additional services on top. I think, and then the last thing I would say is, well, when you think about services, you think about a community of people, and it really is about maybe membership programs. Those are becoming big, not just through like Soho House and places like that, but there are memberships forming all over the place. I don't mean points programs. I just mean where you're bringing people in and adding more value to their lives. and retail has an opportunity to do that. My second observation is that retail is very reactive. You basically sit around and wait for people to come in the door. And retail needs to get more proactive and go out to people, take the experience to people, be more proactive in engaging with and exciting customers. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I fully agree with it, right? I think everything stems to community because look, when you go into a store, you need to feel something. When you interact with the employees, when you wear the product, you need to feel something. And I think that's been a big shift, I think, in the past couple of years. And I think Nike's a great example with like the hype releases, right? Now that it's a Nike Dunk doesn't mean that it sells anymore, right? I think it's just how do you feel wearing the product, right? What's your interaction with the brand? What's the community, right? Like it's really corny, but I think about like the Jeep wave. You know, if you have a Jeep, you wave at other
Yeah.
people, right? Like
Yeah.
how do you develop an authentic community? Because otherwise, a lot of e-commerce or just a lot of commerce becomes commoditized, right? It has to be unique. It has to be special, right? And I think like the great example I feel a lot of times is like, and I think a Seattle brand is like when you go into REI, you always feel like, oh, I definitely need this camping stove even though I've never been camping before in my life, right? It's creating that feeling within your customer base or within your community and the people you interact with where it's like you deeply resonate and care about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was just at the Snow Peak campground, and it was packed and it's the only one, but you fall in love with Snow Peak product, and it is about getting the product into experiences that people feel good about.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I was on the elevator in my building and one of my neighbors was like, "Oh, Amazon is sending out a catalog." Who knew that a digital first company would now go to the catalog? But
That's funny. I'm
yeah,
curious to see how that does. I want to see what that catalog looks like too.
yeah,
Um, but I think Daniel, just to kind of start like getting up at the end, like we've been working together and you guys are one of our, favorite partners we've worked with and really trusted us from the beginning, right? Like maybe, I know we've helped identify millions of bots, we've helped increase just kind of email marketing and sales and time, but would love just even from your words, like what do you think of Yofi? What do you recommend and how have we made your life easier?
Well, I mean, I was sold on Yofi when we met because I've been in rooms at agencies where people talked about precision marketing as a theory. And you guys are the first company that I've met who made that theory a reality. And I was very impressed by that. And the bots, made our just streamlined our process and made our lives so much easier and gave us confidence that we could look our customers in the eyes and say, "We got you. We're getting this product in the hands of real people. You're not competing with the bots because we have Yofi." And that means a lot to people. There's a lot of people, our customers love this product. And it's a big deal when you see the look on their faces when they get this product, when they get these sneakers. They love it. And so they want to know they have a fighting chance. And so you guys give that to them.
Yeah. And that makes me blush a little bit because I think that's always what we cared about, right? Like, and I think that's what we just love to work with is just like how can we help you build authentic relationships with your consumers, right? Like
Mhm.
we view ourselves as a product that is benefiting our customer's customer, right? We're helping likelihood make the customer experience better. And, I think as the world becomes, unfortunately, you've seen all these bad actors. You've seen return abusers, you've seen bots, you've seen resellers, you've seen loyalty abusers. It's just unfortunate where it's like all of these customer friendly policies are also open for gamification. And the fact that we're able to help you like look into your customer's eye and know that you had a really fair release or fair chance and see that smile they get when they get the product just makes me super happy because that is our mission, right? Our mission is to help y'all make very authentic and really strong customer relationships. That's ultimately all that we care about.
Yeah, the best endorsement is when we see on Instagram or we have customers who tell me in person, "You guys do the best releases. Your releases are the fairest." And I love that.
Yeah, that's
That means,
awesome.
yep.
That makes me super happy to hear.
And then the last thing I would say about Yofi is I was also impressed by how well you understood the business. I meet with a lot of vendors because I never pass up an opportunity to see what's next and what could help with the business. And you really understand what we're going through. And the pain points are a bit nuanced, and you guys get those. And so that makes it easier. You're not getting someone up to speed. You're working with someone who really understands the nuances and the very specific pain points that we deal with. And I think return abuse is a great example of that.
Yeah. Well, that makes me happy. I mean, that helps justify the time that we spend on the internet, but I think it just helps us understand because look, like ultimately the way that we view the world is that I think things are getting way more nuanced in different directions. And I think understanding the nuance is just required, right? I think we're moving away from vanilla tools, right? Especially if you think about the growth of AI. What is that going to mean where I think Daniel, I think in the future we're going to have AI bots that are personal shoppers, right? Hey, do I want to
Yeah.
go buy from store A, B, or C? Go choose which one. How do you
Mhm.
start discerning is that a good bot or a bad bot? I think is in the pretty close future, which we're really excited about too.
Mhm. Yep, I can see that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Daniel, again, super grateful for you taking the time to join
Of
us.
course.
Let me check the chat and see if we have any questions. I guess, yeah, one question here is how do you think the bots will impact the future of personalization and connections?
Well, just like you said, AI bots might make it personal. We might have personal shoppers, which we would have to look at as a on an individual basis. Right now, bots are something that get in the way of that connection. But I would be open to them actually reinforcing and helping with those connections. If people had, like you said, personal shopper bots, we would definitely look at that as a way to participate with that bot for sure.
Yeah,
If it makes a customer's life better and more efficient, and we can be a part of that, then we'll definitely look at that.
yeah. I think that makes sense. And I think I feel that way too, where I think we're entering like a new world where I have this weird hypothesis of like, do retailers need to have two storefronts, one for humans or one for bots in the future, where it's going to be like very API driven around like, hey, this is the easiest way from an API perspective where like legitimate customers are going to use the website, right? I think there's a lot of interesting things to see where the world is going to go with that.
Yeah, that's very intriguing.
Uh, and then, yeah, I guess one last question is any plans to expand outside of Seattle? Or are you guys Seattle forever?
For now, we have no plans to expand outside Seattle.
That's awesome. Um, but Daniel, again, we're so grateful for everything. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for the partnership and
You
excited
too.
as
Thank you.
everything that we do. So
You
thank you.
bet. Thanks, Jordan. Pleasure.